Hi guys, it's Beth. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing how I used an older flavor of the month kit that I'd had in my stash. This is the October 2018 flavor of the month kit from Scrapping for Less, and the theme of this one was Joy to the World. And one of my crafty goals is to try and use up at least one card kit each month so I can make room for some new ones. And because it's Christmas in July, I pulled out my Christmas card kits and I'm working through those this month. So this was one of them, and I didn't necessarily want to take your time to show you all like the specific things that were in this kit, but I did take some pictures before I got started so you could at least see what I started with. So I will have those on the screen now. And I will tell you that the 4 collections, there was Christmas in the Village by Bo Bunny. Collection number 2 was Here Comes Santa by Photoplay. Collection number 3 was Jolly by Pink and Main. And then collection number 4 was Santa's Workshop by Echo Park. So that's who did the paper. And then the stamps were by various people, various companies, including Scrapping for Less. So I did utilize the sketch sheet that Scrapping for Less provides as a download each month for the kit, and I did work, just to kind of explain how I did it, I did work through each collection individually, but once I got down to the little scraps, I kind of saved those up until the very end and then worked on those all together. It just made it easier, and I feel like it kind of gave me a little more flexibility on the cards I could make from scraps. So that was a little different for me. Normally I like finish each collection, you know, scraps and all, before I move on to the next collection. But this time I just made as much as I could from each collection and then finished off the tiny scraps at the end altogether. So with that being said, like I said, I did utilize the sketches here, and then I also put in some sketches from my stash. And I would also like to note that I have the banana split level from this kit, which means that I got an extra little bundle of goodies on top of the 4 collections. So I did utilize some of those goodies in my cards and projects as well. So we'll start with the cards that I made. And we'll go ahead and start with the cards from the sheet since it's handy. So sketch number 1 was the deconstructed sketch number 111. And it looks like this is a square card. I did not make it as a square card. All of my cards are A2, so they're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I ended up doing that one more as a horizontal layout. And most of the sketches that I use, I don't follow them to a T. It kind of gives me a place to start, or, you know, a jumping off point, and then I may tweak them here or there just to fit what I have. Sometimes I really do follow them like exactly. But in this case, looking at this sketch, you can tell that I took some liberties. So this is just all one piece. This is like a cut apart from one of the papers, like that was a border cut apart. And then I backed it on white cardstock and left a little more white down here at the bottom than I did at the top, just to kind of act as like that second strip down here. And then instead of a scallop circle, I just had this cute little kind of like Santa's chalet picture that was also a cut apart, and just added it on some white cardstock here. And because that took up a good amount of space, I ended up just using the little fishtail banner up here as my sentiment, which was one of actually I think all of my sentiments are from stamp sets within this collection, or within this kit. So, and then on the insides of the cards, I do either have scrap pieces of cardstock or a piece of ephemera or something that I had left from the collection. So this is the same sketch, little different. I didn't use a scallop again. I used another rectangle, but the size of this one kind of fits the sketch a little bit better. And I did do a double border down here. This is some green ribbon that I got in the banana split bundle. And then this was just a border cut apart. And this was a cut apart as well. And then up here on the fishtail, I backed it on some white cardstock, and this is just some red cardstock. And then this is the only thing I used, like not from this particular kit. And I just needed I needed something small up here and something with some color. And so I pulled out these little candy canes from my stash. I think they're from Hobby Lobby Paper Studio. So I also used sketch number 2, which was a Mojo Monday sketch number 212. And this was the pink and Maine papers, and I loved the colors in this particular collection. The pinks and the greens, totally my thing. And I didn't use the ribbon or twine that they had, but I did use the border. There were some border strips that came in the kit, and so I just used those, the little green polka dot scalloped one behind it. And then this Merry Christmas circle was actually part of another border strip, and you'll see more pieces from it in just a minute. So I did use a border, like a scallop border punch, to add a scallop down here at the bottom, and then pulled in some of the white sequins up here. And then the third sketch is a Viva La Verve sketch from March 2015, week 1. And I did these, I can't tell from the sketch if it's meant to be a vertical card or if it was square. I made it horizontal. So this is more of that cute pink and Maine paper. And I took my 6x6 piece, cut it in half. So I had 2 3x6 inch strips. Took one of those strips and cut it in half again. So now I had 2 3x3 squares and 1 3x6 strip. So I took all the squares and just rounded the corners and then kind of just mixed and matched them across the 6 cards. So this is kind of like a little Christmas card set, if you will. And then of the 3x6 inch strips that I had left, I took some of the more solid patterns and die cut some stitched circles out of them, and then just kind of matched them up with my square pairs here. And then on all of them they have Happy Holidays here, which is from, this was an extra stamp set in the kit, and this says Happy Holidays. And so I just used some red ink to stamp that on a white strip. And then for the element over here on the left hand side, these are all parts of the border strips. So this was again part of this circle one. There were like 4 or 5 circles like attached together, and I just cut out all the circles. And so here's one, this is one, and then this is one. And then on the other 3 cards there was like this poinsettia border strip, and I just cut apart all the poinsettias and used them as embellishments as well. So I also used the final sketch number 4. It's a My Favorite Things sketch number 244. And I did 2 different cards with this, and there were some tags in the Christmas in the Village collection from Bo Bunny. And so I just kind of, since this one had a tag and I have the tags, I just kind of went with that sketch. So I popped the tag up on some foam tape, and then just use another little ephemera piece to go across it. So Happy Holidays just for you. This is the green ribbon that was from my kit, and then I did pull in some baker's twine to tie in with the colors that match the tag, just to kind of help hold my ribbon piece together. And then just accented with some of the pink and the berry colored sequins, if you can see those. And then this one I kind of layered up a bunch of different pieces. This was another one of the tags, and I actually pulled some red ribbon from my stash this time, just because I didn't necessarily like the green of the ribbon against the green of that paper. I'm kind of weird about that, my different shades coordinating. And because I also had this green polka dot and just some other greens, I didn't really like having the green ribbon up here. I did go with some green and white baker's twine though, which I feel ties in pretty well. This was another ephemera piece, and because it's the same pattern as the paper, I just added a little scallop circle behind it just to kind of help separate it, and it's just like another layer to the layered look. And then I added another part of a scalloped circle from some red cardstock as well, and then did accent with some of the red sequins. So that's all the cards I made using the sketch sheet. And then I did, of course, pull sketches from my stash. So this is Reverse Confetti, number 15. And at this point, was just using some scraps and then one of the ephemera pieces that I had left. And then just took some red cardstock or scrap red cardstock and punched some little circles to get some almost like enamel dot type elements. This is Operation Write Home sketch number 44. And this one used one of the like journal size cut aparts that I had. And I loved this plaid paper, and so I just put it on. There was some green cardstock in the kit, and so I just made a full-size card mat so it covered my whole white card base, and then layered up all my different layers in green as well, just to help everything pop. And then the inside has that same plaid with the green cardstock and then some white paper. Operation Write Home sketch number 154, my all-time favorite. Just used some of the scraps that I had left. This No Humbug Zone was a ephemera piece that I had left, and so this was actually one that I saved until the end. So I think these are from different collections. I don't know, I don't think they were all from the same collection, but the colors kind of tied in and they coordinated well with the black cardstock that I wanted to use. So just kind of pulled those all together for that card. This is my favorite thing, sketch number 352. And this one I made a shaker. So in one of the collections, I don't remember which one, they had these, oh, it was collection number 4 with Santa's Workshop from Echo Park. There were these, they're called fancies. And they are basically transparency pieces, but they have patterns on them. And so there were 6 green, and I ended up with 2 red also in my kit. And couldn't really figure out how to incorporate them, so I just decided to go ahead and do a shaker card with them, and that would also use up some of the sequins. There we go. And I just did one level of foam because if you followed me for a while, you know I don't really like a whole lot of dimension on my cards. And so I tried not to overload it with sequins this time, but then just used a variety of sequins from the kit. And then instead of my circle element here, I just used a rectangle cut apart that I had left and then just layered up some of the pattern papers. And then I didn't use sketches for any of the rest of these, just either was working with scraps or some of these cut aparts that I had left. I love this one. It's super cute, super just crisp and clean. And this was a cut apart. And then Be Good for Goodness Sake was from one of the Scrapping for Less stamp sets, and it has like Santa in the chimney and just some Santa saying. So I thought that was perfect since he's got his list, because you know he's watching you. And then I don't usually stamp on the inside of my cards, especially not at this time. Normally, if I decide to stamp something in it, it's before I send it out later on. But I did go ahead and stamp a Merry Christmas to You in here, and then had some black cardstock and white cardstock just to kind of tie into the front. Kind of same thing with this one, was just trying to work around this cute Santa is watching cut apart, and decided to layer the pieces on red to help them pop off the black. And then on this one, since Santa is watching, I used the Be Good for Goodness Sake sentiment on the inside. This was an ephemera piece, and so was this bird. And so I just kind of layered up some of the pattern papers. I used this kind of grayish white pattern. It's like a real subtle pattern as my mat for the yellow pine cones, and then just added some gold sequins here. This one was like it was like a border, or like a big border piece, and I trimmed it down just a little bit, and then I added some gold foil washi tape behind the ends, or behind the top and bottom, just to help it stand out off of the green polka dot. And then I did add some Wink of Stella to the ornament there in the middle, and then I did use some gold embossing powder for my Season's Greetings sentiment down here. This one I was trying to use up. This is a border strip, and I just decided I liked it kind of as a focal point. So I just took some of this red and white, what is that, herringbone? I don't know, pattern, and added the border up here and cut off, since I had to trim off some of it to fit anyway, I made sure to trim off one full tree and then just use that to embellish my sentiment down here. So I like how the two bright colors pop off each other there. And this one, just took some of this was a cut apart I had left, and then these were just some scraps, and so I just kind of pieced them together on the card front and then added my sentiment with some layers of circles behind it to help it pop. Here, just using some cut aparts and scraps that I had left, and again punched some small smirkles. Those would be smirkles. Those would be circles that the Smurfs have, right? Punched some small circles out of, it was like blue. I want to say it had a background similar to this, and some plain blue pattern, and just added those as my enamel dots. And then this one again, it was just using some of the scraps that I had left, and I did add a little red bow from my stash on that one to kind of make it look like an ornament. So for the last cards, I brought in my Favorite Things Dynamics die, and this is the Collage cover-up. And this is where I was working with some scraps at the end. And rather than just piecing some cards together with scraps like I normally do, I always forget I have dies that can help me with this. And so I just did, in this one I did the collage border in white cardstock, and then picked two of the coordinating scraps that I had left and cut them into some of the squares, and then used some black cardstock for the rest of them. And then this was another one of the border strips that I had that came in the kit, and then Joy to the World was from this little stamp set, which is, let me turn it right side up for you, from Pink and Maine for Scrapping for Less. And then here I used a red frame, and then just kind of filled in with all different kinds of the patterns that I had left. This was an ephemera piece that I was just trying to use up, and then the Season's Greetings stamp came from this Stamping Bella stamp set. And then again, this one just pieced together scraps from different collections, filled in with some red cardstock, and in this case I used the tree from the stamp set, and then kind of colored it up and fussy cut it out, and then came back in with a gold Wink of Stella to do the star and the garland, and then added some red stickles for like the little ornaments on the tree, just to give it a little bit of dimension and texture. So when I was die cutting these pieces, every once in a while I would get a perfect frame, like out of what was left over. And so I kept those, thinking I could use them somehow on cards. So it got down to the end and I still had those. And so it just reminded me of, what are they, the movie strips? Like the old movie strips, embellishments. And so I took the frame, and in this one I popped in some black cardstock, because when you cut your frame, it cuts the whole thing. So every time I cut a frame, I also get individual squares and a strip, all of that same color. And I always save them, because a lot of times I can fill in with them in different places, and you know me, I can't throw a perfectly good scrap away, because they do have the stitching, and I figure I might be able to use them for embellishments elsewhere, whatever. So I ended up pulling some out of my scrap stash, and just filled in the frame here, backed it on some of the olive green cardstock from the kit, and then I couldn't figure out what to do with it. I thought about making a tag, but then realized I had a whole bunch of other scraps too that I was trying to figure out how to use, so I just decided to make a background with my scraps. So I took the longest scrap and put it in the middle and then trimmed down scraps just to kind of get smaller from the middle. And so just kind of like made a little background, and then it's kind of busy, but then I stamped my sentiment and put it in this middle square, and then I had 2 pieces left, at least 2 pieces left of the reindeer border, and so I just put those in the top and bottom square to finish it out. And then here's another one I had from the green holly pattern, and so this time I popped in some red squares and then backed it all on some green cardstock, and then again did my strips the same way so that the longest strip started in the middle and then got smaller from there and then out to the ends. And these are scrap strips from all 4 collections, so I just tried to pick ones that kind of coordinated with the colors that happened to be in the frame. And then here is the last of the poinsettias that I had cut off of the border strip, and then that Joy to the World sentiment. So I got 28 cards from this kit, along with some other little goodies. This was part of a cut-apart sheet that I had left, and this was like all one grouping, and I thought about cutting it apart but realized I kind of liked how it all looked together. So I just took my corner chomper from We Are Memory Keepers and cut it into a tag at the top, like angled the top to be a tag shape, and then added some heavy-duty white cardstock on the back, and then did the same thing with the corners up here, punched a hole, added some red ribbon from my stash, and thought it made a cute little tag. And then I also used one of the border cut apart pages that I had to make a cute little hot cocoa pocket. So this is just an envelope I had in my stash. It's like business size, and it's red, nice and thick. Cut it down in half, so it's like 4 by 4 3/4, I think, are the rough dimensions of the pocket. And then just use some pattern paper on the back, and then this kind of border strip pattern on the front. And then I had like a doily type die cut in my stash, so I just added that behind my red circle here, and then this cute little reindeer head was an ephemera piece in the kit. And then I also made 2 nail file holders, and I need to see if I can't find like the big thicker nail files. They haven't been at our Dollar Tree in a while, so I had bought these just in case, but I don't necessarily like how these look in here as well. They're the skinnier ones. So these are just kind of a placeholder, and hopefully I can find some more of those big, thicker ones at a decent price somewhere, if not Dollar Tree. So anyway, but this used like a 3.5 by 6 inch piece of paper, so I can get one from each 6 by 6 piece of paper. And then just took some of, like this one used a couple of ephemera pieces, and then I did add this white bow from my stash. And then on this one, this was an ephemera piece, and then I stamped Deck the Halls on the inside from this Gina K Design stamp set that was in the kit, and then added a red sequin there on top of the bow. And then as part of the banana split level package, there was this cute little burlap stocking, and there was also some twine. So I looped the twine, punched a hole, looped the twine through to make kind of an ornament, and then I have some heat transfer. I had like a small scrap of this red and black buffalo plaid heat transfer vinyl, and so I just cut the word joy out of it, and this is the O is like an ornament. So I just used my silhouette to cut that, and then applied it to the burlap, and then had this little pom-pom trim in my stash, and so I just hot glued that to the top, and I figured, maybe I could stick like a candy cane or something in here to help decorate it a little bit more, but just thought that's a cute little rustic ornament, which that's what our tree theme is. So, and then the last thing I made was a wine bottle tag, and just took some of the olive green cardstock that was in my kit, and then this is the piece of the pattern paper, and it's roughly, I think it's just shy of 3 by 5.5. I ended up making this a little bit smaller than normal. And then I made sure to leave a little bit of the green border behind it. And then this ornament was an ephemera piece, and so I stamped Merry Christmas to You on it, and then used some gold foil washi tape down here at the bottom, and then I did add this bow, was from my stash, this gold bow, but that's like a very elegant tag. So what did I say, 28 cards and 2 for 6 other projects that I got out of this kit, which is pretty good. And again, I have left all of these stamp sets. This Gina K, this one's from Scrapping for Less. Stamping Bella, this is Pink and Main, and then this one is Scrapping for Less. And I honestly didn't use a lot of the fun images that they had included on the stamp sets because I wasn't in the mood to color. But there are some super cute images that could be colored up and make some amazing cards. I just, for some reason, wasn't in the mood, and there were so many other embellishments included in this kit that I didn't really need to. Like, I wanted to focus on using up the embellishments that came with it, and then the stamps I can always use in the future. But then I also have like 7 sheets of the fancies left, the roll of ribbon, and then very few little scraps. My sequins, a few ephemera pieces, and then they did have these wood shapes, and I didn't end up using any of those, but again, those are something that I could add color to and put on anything in the future, so I'm happy to add those to my stash. But that's what I have left, along with a good stash of stamps to add to my collection. So this was super fun, and I kind of blew through this kit. I'm just in Christmas mode and enjoying not having the actual pressure of crafting during, the Christmas time. And so I had a lot of fun. So that was what I made with the October 2018 Flavor of the Month kit. Hope you guys enjoyed this Christmas in July project share and maybe got some inspiration on some projects you could make this month. And if you have any questions on anything, let me know. The card sketches will be listed in the description box below, as well as the link to where I got the template for the nail file holders, and then I will also include a link to the My Favorite Things die if you are interested in that. But again, let me know if you have any questions. I thank you guys so much for your time, as always, and I hope you're all having a crafty Christmas in July.